Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in support of H.R. 5313, Reese's Law. I want to begin by thanking Consumer Protection and Commerce Subcommittee Chair Schakowsky for her dedication to protecting consumers from dangerous products, and Representatives Kelly, Arrington, and Liu for introducing this bipartisan legislation that will save children's lives. Reese's Law is named after Reese Hamsmith, an 18-month-old girl who lost her life from complications caused by swallowing a button battery. These are small single-cell batteries that look like a disc or a button. Today they're used to power common household electronics like television remotes, key fobs, and meat thermometers. Because of their small size and availability around the house, button cell or coin batteries pose a serious harm to children under 6 who can suffer serious injuries or death if they swallow these batteries. According to Reese's mother, Trista Hamsmith, Reese was a spunky, sassy, full-of-life little girl who at an early age took the attention of an entire room the moment she walked in. While Trista was in the hospital with Reese, she decided that she wanted to spread awareness about the dangers of button batteries. In her testimony before our committee, Trista said about Reese, and I'm quoting, "Her earthly battle may be over, but her true battle, her true plan, and her true purpose has just begun." Reese's Law requires the Consumer Product Safety Commission to establish mandatory safety standards to protect children from ingesting button cell or coin batteries. The CPSC standards should include requirements for button cell or coin battery packaging to make the batteries more difficult to access. The packages must also include warning labels to warn consumers about the dangers of ingesting these products and instruct consumers about keeping new and used batteries out of the reach of children. This legislation is a testament to the bravery and tireless advocacy of Trista Hamsmith and parents everywhere who have lost children to accidental ingestion of these products. And this is crucial legislation that will save kids' lives, and that's why I call on my colleagues to support it today. And Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from New Jersey reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman from Ohio is recognized. Mr. Lafferty.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reese's Law will require the Consumer Product Safety Commission to establish safety standards to protect children from ingesting button cell batteries. It also includes an education component for consumers to ensure they're keeping new and used batteries out of the reach of children. I want to thank Representatives Arrington and Kelly for spearheading this effort, and to Trista Hamsmith for her tireless efforts. We're all inspired by Trista, who has been willing to share her daughter's tragic story and channel it into an action that will help save lives. I urge all my colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized. Mr. Pallone.
I'd like to yield such time as she may consume now to Ms. Schakowsky, who chairs our Consumer Protection Subcommittee from which this bill came.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank all the co-sponsors of the legislation. Particularly, I want to mention Robin Kelly, who is not able to be here today. I know she wanted to be able to speak to this legislation. But it was brought to our Consumer Protection Subcommittee by a really brave mom, and that is Trista Hamsmith, a woman who lost her 18-month-old daughter, Reese, tragically, after she ingested a tiny button cell battery. And I am just so proud of not only the subcommittee, but the full committee that unanimously has passed this and brought it now to the floor. But we give a special thanks to Trista Hamsmith, mom of Reese. So as the chairman mentioned, these batteries are found in many household devices and even toys that are used by children. And it is estimated that once every 3 minutes, a child is treated in an emergency room having swallowed one of these small batteries. These deaths and injuries that continue are absolutely not necessary because voluntary standards for their packaging and to protect children are just not present. And so Reese's laws would require that the Consumer Product Safety Commission draft mandatory standards that would, for these button cell or coin batteries. And these standards will ensure that the batteries are, the packaging would have the information about what is dangerous, and that they would be child resistant and would have warning labels on the packages for instructions for parents to protect their children. And more times than not, I want to just say that in our subcommittee, we learn from parents about the hazards that their children face. And I am just so proud that with the help of Gus Bilirakis, the ranking member of the subcommittee, the help of both the chairman and the ranking member of the full committee and our full committee, we are able to address these hazards. And the fact that Trista was able to bring Reese's story to us and tell it. Sometimes I think that our subcommittee is, we have to pass out tissues because the stories that we hear from these parents, but they turn their tragedy into power and are able to make the difference. And so I just want to thank my friends and colleagues and look forward to passing this legislation. And I yield back.
Gentlewoman from Illinois yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey reserves. Gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Well, thank you very much. At this time, I recognize the gentleman from Texas who's worked on this piece of legislation, Mr. Arrington, for 3 minutes.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I think the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Speaker, Trista and Chris Hamsmith lived every parent's worst nightmare when their 18-month-old daughter, Reese, swallowed a button battery from the back of a remote control. It went undetected for a couple of days before an x-ray revealed that the battery was lodged in her esophagus. It burned a hole in her esophagus. By the time the doctors dislodged the battery, it had gone so long, and the unique nature of these batteries, it had done irreparable harm and eventually and unfortunately led to her death. But like a strong West Texas woman and a mom on a mission, Trista prayerfully set out to make sure other families would not have to experience this horrible tragedy. She started Reese's Purpose, a nonprofit aimed at raising awareness of the dangers of button batteries and advocating for stronger safety measures. While I'm an ardent limited government and less regulation guy, it was evident to me that, and thanks to Trista's diligence, quite frankly, that these button batteries were uniquely dangerous. They would burn holes in kids' stomachs or their esophaguses and cause major medical complications and even death. And the cases where children were ingesting these batteries were growing exponentially. In 2020, 8,000. During COVID, we saw a 93% uptick in kids going to the emergency room having ingested these batteries. I was convinced it needed appropriate immediate action, and I spoke to the commissioner of the Consumer Product Safety Commission. They agreed it was a serious safety risk, but they said it'd take 3 to 5 years for the rulemaking process. That's when I connected with my colleague Robin Kelly. We introduced this bipartisan legislation that we affectionately refer to as Reese's Law, which would require the CPSC to put enhanced safety standards, including packaging, warning labels, and the like. I'm glad we're voting on this. I'm proud of Trista and her family. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes, send it to the Senate, where they can act swiftly to do the same. Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud to represent West Texas, the most kind-hearted and compassionate people, and I'm especially honored to be a small part of Reese's purpose and partner with such a strong, persistent, and loving mom in Trista Hamsmith, who I now call Trista the Hammer Hamsmith. God bless America. God bless these children. I hope we can save some lives, and go West Texas.
Gentleman from Texas yields back. Gentleman from Ohio reserves. Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
I have no additional speakers prepared to close.
Thank you.
Gentleman from New Jersey reserves. Gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank all the members that have worked on this very important piece of legislation, because this is a piece of legislation that's going to help save countless children's lives. I also want to thank Trista for her unending work to make sure this legislation gets across the finish line. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask the passage of this legislation and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Ohio yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, this bill is a testament to the bravery and tireless advocacy of Trista Hamsmith and parents everywhere who have lost children to accidental ingestion of these products. So this is a crucial bill that will save kids' lives, and that's why I call on my colleagues to support it today, and I yield back.